welcome back to another episode of After Further Review with my man Kaylin. As always, got Slick Rick, brought to you by our boys at Going for Two. Shane's watching the Michigan State games, so he can't join us today again, but we hope to have him on next week. But we're going to go over a bunch of stuff and recap some stuff that we talked about last week. Lots of stuff going on in the world of sports, as always. We'll start where we started last week and kind of recap what we witnessed the other night in the World Baseball Classic and the amazing game that we got to watch for the final.
Yeah, I don't know if you're paying attention live right now. The topic of that game, Michigan State, might be a little bit sensitive to Shane. They're down currently coming to the end of the first half. So, I mean, listen, I don't cheer against Michigan State. I know I'd like to cheer against Shane once in a while just because he, grinds my gears throughout the entire year. Red hair has never done me any favors. But, I do hope that Michigan State comes back. Yeah. This Kansas State team, though, I mean, they are a very talented bunch. We'll talk about that probably a little bit as it goes on here. But they've shown me something. Michigan, I really do hope kind of passes them, though. I think that's a good matchup for them.
Is that team that upset the number one seed still alive? That Fairleigh team? That's all.
FDU?
The 16 seed that won, yeah, that was crazy because that doesn't usually happen too often. But
yeah,
when Duke's out, I usually stop paying attention. But to see a 16 seed go all the way, I think that'd be pretty sweet. I don't think that's ever happened.
Yeah, no, I don't think that they're in it anymore.
Well, that's too bad.
Yeah.
Anyways, so let's move along. We'll talk about the World Baseball Classic. It was the most watched baseball game of all time. It blew pretty much any World Series out of the water. It wasn't close.
Yep.
So anybody that was questioning the World Baseball Classic, whether it should be a thing, we pretty much got our answer the other night as to whether it should be a thing or not.
Well, I think I saw the stat. I don't know if it was you had sent it to me, or somebody else had sent it to me, but it was like 97.3% of Japan turned in to watch the WBC.
Well, yeah, it was 93% of watch the Mexico game, and then it even went up to like 97% for the States game. So, that's a lot of people in Japan, and that's a lot of people tuning into a baseball game.
Mm-hmm.
And they pulled it off in dramatic fashion, which was incredible how it went down. But we ended up with the States, versus Japan. Ohtani wasn't pitching in the game. He said he was ready to go, but we had no guarantee that we were going to see Trout versus Ohtani in this game. But what did we see? We got to see them, bottom of the ninth, 2 out. These guys have never faced each other before, and the at bat, it felt like it lasted a lifetime. And that's another thing we could talk about as well is whether the pitch clock really, in big situations, should the pitch clock should it be implemented, or should the pitch clock be dropped for playoffs? Because we do want that suspense that we had in that moment with those two guys in a full count, right? Because it was pretty exciting right down to the last pitch.
Yeah, it was. Now, quickly touching base on what you talked about there with the clock. I think the clock should be there the whole way through. I think if you've done it the regular season, you've done it 180 plus games. I think that you adding it into the playoffs for however many that may be for you, I don't think that that's a big change. I understand it gives you that dramatic moments and everything as well. But I think that if we go 5 to 7 more years of baseball running with a play clock, we're not going to know anything what the previous way was like. And I just think that there's only so many times that actually plays an effect. Like this was a 3-2 game, was a great game, was a low scoring event, especially after the U.S. made it there blowing out Cuba 14-2 prior to that, right?
Well, yeah. But that's the thing though, is that we don't know though, like when it comes down to it for a high leverage moment like that, if it's going to be good to have a pitch clock, because it may take away from the game a little bit. We don't know yet because we haven't been in that moment yet.
So
yeah, it's great to speed up the games in the regular season. It's great to speed up the games in the spring training. But to me, it's almost a comparison in saying that the NHL has a 3-on-3 overtime in the shootout in the regular season, but in the playoffs, we're going continuous OT until somebody scores a goal. And for me, I think in the playoffs, I don't think time should be an issue. It's almost like, for me, yeah, I would love to be able to watch a Jays game in the regular season and have it be done in 2 hours and 15 minutes, get on with my night. But come playoff time, you want it to last longer. It's like you almost want the game to be longer. I think you don't want it to go so quick.
So what do you think who does it hurt more? Offense or the batter or the pitcher, the play clock?
It depends on who it is, really, on a case by case basis, really. But for me, for a pitcher that like is used to taking his time, especially a guy that's been pitching for 10, 12 years or something like that, and he's used to a certain rhythm, and now he's just got to catch the ball, grab the signal, and go. Especially with PitchCom as well, we don't know how well PitchCom is going to work again. We got guys using PitchCom, some guys not using PitchCom. If that doesn't work, then you end up with a quarterback that's sitting there saying, "I can't hear," and then all of a sudden, he runs out of time and gets a delayed game.
So, I mean,
kind of like the same deal, right?
It seems like it's everything across the board of every sport we've ever watched over the last 25 years is that they're trying to make the game easier for the offense, or at least better for the offense, because that's what people buy tickets for, is for the offense, right? So I think in that regard, I feel like if you're trying... Now, the only other answer that the MLB has that they've obviously tested over the last 2 years, or we think they've tested anyway, is juicing the balls. And I don't think juicing the balls is the answer. I don't think that is the solution to what we're dealing with. But I think that having that pitch clock there, I think it's one of those, like, where you see the hockey players, who's going to be the last person to get off the ice, right? I feel like the pitcher's always still got that last advantage of, like, being ready and being the last one to deliver... last one off the ice, essentially, right? But this kind of gives that batter that little bit of an edge that I think that they're going to need in order to keep the offense up and going. Because if the baseball is going to grow, where did it grow the fastest? It grew during that steroided home run era, right? And what happened last year? Baseball grew again when Aaron Judge was chasing the record to break it, right? So that's what I think baseball needs to stick with. And if you're going to do anything that makes offense easier, do it, right? To an extent, I think that we have witnessed.
I just don't want to take away from the integrity of the game when it gets in a crunch time, in the seventh
Yeah.
innings on, in big games, and somebody gets given a base because they went over on the pitch clock. Like, to me, that's going to seem until that happens, we're not going to know how people are going to react to this and how baseball is going to react until a game is lost because of the pitch clock. Because right now it's all experimental and it's fun and the games are going quick and blah 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 blah. Mm-hmm. But when it comes down to it, we'll see what happens when this actually affects a big game in the playoffs. If it's a game 7 or a deciding game, then we're going to really see what happens there. But let's go away from that. We don't want to go for negatives right now. We're going to talk about Ohtani for a little bit here because, this is a guy we've been watching him for the last few years now. Obviously, we know he's incredible, what he does. But what he did in one game is things that nobody's ever done in their life. Just to go over what he did in that game, he was able to hit a ball 114 miles an hour off the bat. He threw a ball 102 miles an hour, and he ran to first base in 4.1 seconds. So this is a guy that would have literally decent wide receiver speed if he was in the NFL. He can throw the ball harder than anybody. He can hit the ball harder than anybody. And he just struck out the best batter in the world. And we'll talk about that stat, that I sent you, that Mike Trout only has 3 swings and misses, 3 swinging strikes, and he only has 24 of those in 6,174 at-bats. So I repeat, 24 out of 6,174 at-bats, he's only swung and missed 3 times. And the first time Ohtani faces him for the World Baseball Classic, he strikes him out. Like, what we watched the other night was amazing, and it'll probably never happen again.
And let's, these guys are teammates, right?
Yeah.
So this isn't a guy. I mean, I've obviously never played professional ball. I never played even minor, anything ball wise. But I just don't think that there's a lot of times that you get into the professional leagues where you're pitching against your teammate, especially a player like Mike Trout, and you're learning how to just be successful against him. This is going in completely blind, outside of watching a lot of film and doing your scouter's take.
Stuff like that, but
it's not a real game. It's not a real game.
Who do you think would have had the advantage going into that? Watching each other play, knowing what each other's strengths are. Like, you would think Mike Trout would have had the advantage.
Well, we're talking about somebody who is many people who have talked to this guy said he's the smartest baseball player to ever play.
He knew what he was throwing.
Yeah.
He was just off by this much.
Yeah.
Two times Ohtani threw him the heat right down the plate. He gave him a chance 2 times. With 2 big heaters right down the middle, and Mike Trout just missed him. And if he had hit that would have just been absolutely incredible. But what a finish! To see those 2 guys go at it, to see 3 different winners in the last 3 World Baseball Classics is also great as well. The stage, Japan and Dominican now, that's 3 in a row. So it's not like one country is dominating this thing.
Yeah.
There's no point in having it. So that's really cool. What we watched, just obviously we know what Japan was doing that night. One quick thing from last week, Xander Bogaerts, the reason why he can play for the Dutch is because he is from Aruba, which I found out is a kingdom of Netherlands. So because he's born just up the road from Venezuela, he in Aruba, it is a kingdom that's still owned by them. So I stand corrected. That's why he was able to play for Netherlands. I told you there was going to be one other guy that got hurt before it was over, and wonderfully, it was Jose
Altuve.
I love it. If there was anybody else going to get hurt, it had to be an Astro and a guy that was wired in the playoffs and cheated. Now it looks good on you. So I'm glad nobody else really got hurt other than him.
Yeah.
And do want to shout out Trey Turner because, man, Trey Turner had arguably the best World Baseball Classic ever. 5 home runs. When he hit that first one in the first inning, you're like, this game's over.
Yeah.
Like, for me, I had that feeling. I just felt like the States were going to roll. And you know what? Good on Japan. They are so stingy defensively. It's incredible. They make the right play all the time. They never make an error. They never drop the ball. They never, like, round the bases incorrectly. You see the one guy, the way he slid to second base, sliding to the very back of the bag because he knows that you have to get the tag in the front. It's just like all the little things that they do added up for them. And, you know, they took out the big States. To see Merrill Kelly as a starter, that was a bummer because you would think that, you know, the States would have a better pitcher to put at the World Baseball Final than some guy I've never even heard of. But,
Yeah.
You know, I think that in the end that lost it for them, I think, as well. But, you know, great tournament. I hope that Canada gets more of their guys into the next one. And, you know, we should be one of those Final 8 teams. There's no reason why we shouldn't have been in the Final 8 that year. But hopefully we don't have to wait too long for another one.
Yeah. Good tourney.
That leads us into our next topic here in hockey and, you know, in another world competition. That, you know, is this enough for the NHL to be forced to make sure that next year we have a world best tournament in the NHL? Because to see what just happened for the States, for the baseball, the Classic, and how much it pumped the world up and how the world got into it. You can't tell me hockey wouldn't do the exact same thing. That the quality of players right now in the world is better than it's ever been, and it would be so electric to see. And yet, you know, we haven't had it forever, and I'm just hoping that this motivates them to do it.
Well, you know, I saw a clip today from Biz Nasty. It was regarding something else altogether. It was about fighting and stopping the fights, but he called Gary Bettman Kim Jong Bettman. And you know what? I think that is absolutely true. This guy, I don't care I've gotten arguments recently with some people who think that he's a good commissioner. This league can't get out of their own fucking way. Okay, I'll give you a prime example. When the Carolina Stadium Series happened, the outdoor game, I'm a hockey watcher. You're a hockey watcher. I talk to hockey watchers. Half of the people that I talked to, more than half of the people that I talked to the day before the game, didn't even know there was an outdoor game happening the following day. When I went and asked more people on the Saturday, people that same day in the bar setting that work in bars didn't know there was an outdoor happening game. This year they switched over their jerseys from Adidas to Fanatics. Now, I joked, I don't know if I'm wrong about this. I haven't looked this up, but I think back when we were in high school, I'm talking 20 years ago, maybe 18 years ago, was Fanatics not the knockoff brand? Like, isn't that where you went to get knockoff jerseys?
Well,
because
Fanatics has always been the discount version of a site.
That's right, yeah.
Where you could get that's where you could get the ironed on like logos and shit like that.
Yeah.
It started off as the shittier version.
It was a step above going online whenever those those Chinese websites to go get those knockoff jerseys there. It was a step above.
Than the ones you could get from Fanatics.
Yeah. And
my dad got me a really nice jacket from Fanatics with the leather Raiders jacket. But I get what you're saying.
And that leads into this.
Jerseys every 5 years. I don't understand.
That's right.
But now Reebok, Adidas, Nike, and now Fanatics.
Well, they priced everybody out. They priced every single. The Adidas is a jersey making company that decided they weren't making enough on the jersey they were doing for the NHL. They weren't selling enough, and then the NHL goes and raises the rights to sell their jerseys. So they price everybody out, and they go and get Fanatics, who's been in everybody's back pocket for the last decade, it seems anyway. And that leads me into they cannot get out of their own way. This is a prime example of a World Baseball Classic. They talk about the players playing in the Olympics, or the players the Spangler Cup, and players playing or not playing in that, or being allowed to play in that. They can't do anything to make this sport better. They want to keep a team in Arizona for the next 20 years for some God unknown reason. No, I think I'm with you, Rick. I think this would absolutely grow the game. This is a game that recently has done very well thanks to TNT. I think their ratings are up like 47% from last year.
It's fun to watch. Yeah, I actually watched the late game last night with Edmonton and Arizona. So I got to see the TNT broadcast.
Yeah.
And I got to see these guys are joking around and stuff. They're trying to make it more like the NBA one.
That's right.
Which is fun. But you got to talk real quick about Biz Nasty because Biznathy talked. They were doing the interview with Connor McDavid at the end of the game.
Yeah.
And Connor McDavid, man, you can tell this guy's got confidence now because like he was chirping him, right, and this and that, and they were talking about fighting and. They're talking about like I guess Biznatzy the one time said he's like, yeah, I guess he's like, you almost ended my career. Last time I played, you scored 2 goals in one of my shifts. I never saw the ice again. He's like, maybe if I know that that's all I got to do to get back on the ice or whatever. He's like, no, I think you're right where you should be, man.
Speaking before I did a little touch side base. Last time we were on, you brought up Ryan Reeves, and I made fun of you during it because the guy scored like 2 goals last year. I think he scored like 1 goal 3 years prior to that total, and then this year in the last 15 games, he's got 4 goals and 3 assists since you went and pumped his tires. I don't know what you did to go and get Ryan Reeves going, but this guy had 1 goal when we talked about it last week, and he's had 3 more and 3 assists since then.
Like, that guy that wouldn't fight him, that was unreal.
Yeah.
He was throwing down balls and he wouldn't go at it. But you did talk about the outdoor games as well. I think this is just a fad that's died, really, to me. I think it was really cool when it first came out. But, you ask guys if they want to play an outdoor game. I bet you most of them don't. The ice conditions are usually never good. Like we're running out of jersey ideas. You got people wearing the Peaky Blinders outfits and everyone thinks it's all great and everything. It looks retarded to me. I think it's worn out.
Was it that Anaheim LA game? Was it that one where the ice was basically melted? They had to delay the game. I think that was kind of the beginning of the end when you're getting these West Coast teams in California-based areas they're doing outdoor games. It just doesn't make sense. And it's a great idea. I went to one of them. I went to the Devils and the Rangers game outdoor at Yankee Stadium. Right, cold as all heaven. But it's a great idea. I do like it. I just think there's certain teams that just don't need to have those type of games, and yet the NHL wants to force it. What's that?
I really do think it should be a Canadian thing. Like, I really love the Heritage Classic. You're never going to have a problem playing a game outside in Canada in the wintertime. It really, that's where it started, was with the Heritage Classic, with Sidney Crosby in the shootout against Jose Theodore with the toucan.
Yeah.
That was a moment.
Yeah.
Literally with the snow coming down and it's dark out and it was just, that was incredible. And that's what we did this for. But when you got teams that play, they have beaches all year long, they're playing outdoor games. It loses its impact, and who really gives a shit? When it comes down to it. And that's the thing. It's like the F word. If you say it too much, if you say fuck too much, okay,
it loses its impact.
Okay, but if you use it once in a while, then people still admire it.
Yeah.
You can't just do something all the time and people don't give a shit.
Just keep it in the north, right? I mean, there's a time to grow the game. I just don't think that is the event that you grow your game at. That's the game. That's the event that you rake in the money.
With the world competition, with the best players in the world, and you know what? We had a perfect example. We only had 2 games on the slate last night, right?
Yep.
So we had Crosby playing first, the best player of our generation, and then we have McDavid following the best player of the next generation right now. Well, one of the best players ever, probably, by the time he's done. But what do we get? We got 2 finishes from 2 of the best players ever. Okay? Crosby with his patented, amazing backhand, top cheese.
Yep.
What a goal. And then we get McDavid. He misses the one off the post first in overtime. He slaps his stick on the ice. All he says at the end, he's like, I'm glad my stick didn't break. Because he got the puck right back, goes for the same move, dirty-ass finish, top shelf. And this is a guy that's been lobbying now. And now that he's got more of a voice, and he's talking about how we're not playing world competitions, he has pull now in this league. And the fact that you had 2 of the best players last night that we have been robbed of not seeing on the ice together between Crosby and McDavid is such a travesty that we have not got to see those guys play together yet. And the fact that Crosby is still as good as he is at 37 years old is amazing. So we need to take advantage of that right now and get McDavid and Crosby together at least one time to see them play together, because that's what we need. We want it so bad.
39 goals when he's 18, 30 goals when he's 37, Rick. Unbelievable what we've been able to see out of this kid wonder in Sidney Crosby. This is a guy.
Every year, no matter what.
This is a guy that we all knew had talent coming into the league, and a lot of people thought that he was going to get bullied out because he got pushed around pretty early on in his career. But my God, the guy has just been nothing short of excellent. You talked about his backhand last night. A 37-year-old guy going down there and scoring a goal like that. That's very it's very rare, right? We soak in what we're seeing right now.
To score a backhand like that, period.
Yeah.
On a 37-year-old guy, and it's like I was watching Tim and Friends today, and it's like what he said is Tim's like, he is the definition of a guy that brought it every single night, never took a night off, never took a game off, never took a face-off off. Like, never, ever did you see this guy ever walk. Never did you ever watch him and say, "Oh, Crosby's really not having a good game tonight."
Yeah.
Like, it just doesn't happen, And then to see the talent that we've transformed to, the next evolution of a player, pretty much with McDavid. To think of those guys playing together on a line together, and then you throw in McKinnon on that line on the power play, that's what we need to see as Canadians, and just to see, like you said, how successful the World Baseball Classic was. It's like, oh my God, like we almost had it last time with the Olympics, and then COVID screwed that up. We didn't get lucky, we got unlucky that way, but like it needs to happen, and I'm just hoping now that McDavid has, the voice he has now and the pull he has now. Hopefully he hits 70 goals this year. He's got to score 10 goals in 10 games at this point, and I think that would be a walk in the park the way he could play right now. So it'd be the first time anybody's got to 70, since I think Bernie Nichols. We were talking about that with Steve. Like these are, he's putting up numbers right now that guys haven't put up since the 90s. Like we're talking like the only guys to even put up this amount of points that he's projected to have right now are Yager, Lemieux, Gretzky, Yzerman, Phil Esposito. Like that's the only guys that put these numbers up. And he is, all these years later, is finally doing it. So hopefully he has the pull to get this tournament in line and get the tournament we deserve to have. So
yeah, well, one more little shout out there to Crosby as well. I don't know if you saw or not, but the guy is a point per game player again for like the 18th consecutive season. So that's incredible. I know that is not a. Some people talk about it and think it's a really highly regarded thing when you're a point per game player. Some think it's more of an average stat these days. I am still in the crowd that thinks, I still think I'm in the crowd that thinks that is a pretty incredible stat, and to do it that many years in a row is unbelievable, man.
And
with the ups,
he just focus on making the playoffs. That's all he's focused on right now. He's in a battle. I think they're 1 point back of Florida, who plays the Leafs tonight. Leafs 4-3 since the deadline. It looks like they're good sometimes, and then still give up things here and there as well. But like I said, they're hopefully trying to figure out the right formula for the playoffs.
Well, listen, they took home ice advantage. I mean, that was the most important thing. They got a floundering team in Tampa, so they'll be able to have that, which is pretty nice. I mean, nobody wanted to go into Tampa 4 games potentially, right?
No, definitely not. Like I said, they had like still one of the best home records in the league. So yeah.
What do we got? Like 11 games left? I think it's like 11 or 10 games left in the season for most of these teams.
Yeah, well, the Flames have 10 left, and that's what I want to talk about next. I am in Calgary here, so we got to talk about the Flames a little bit. Just been such an up and down season, and when you live in a city that actually has an NHL team, like I do now, it's like. You feel it everywhere, It's the workers, the people you work with, the radio stations. It's just like everybody feels it, Especially, like with the Flames and the Stampeders. But the Flames were supposed to be good this year. They really were. They lost 2 big guys, but they filled them with 2 big guys as well. I saw this display the other day. I'm sure you've heard about it by now, but. This is the kind of year the Flames have had. 41 one-goal games, most in NHL history. 26 one-goal losses. So, that's like,
Rick, they're a +3. They're a +3 in goal differential right now. You look at that team, and it's like everybody else is like double-digit goal differentials, and you got them at the very bottom there with a +3.
Well, and 15 overtime losses. They can't find a way to win.
Yeah, that's ugly.
And they hit 77 posts, so maybe that goal differential would be a little bit better if they put half those 77 posts, most in the NHL. And they have 0 third-period comebacks. 0. And that is the number out of all those stats. They have also 21 losses when out shooting a team by 10. But, some shots obviously don't matter. The Leafs have been out shooting people for years, and that's not nothing for them. But, when it comes down to it, 0 third-period comebacks, that is, that's inexcusable, really. Like, you have to find a way. You have to have some drive. If you're going to make the playoffs, you have to grind. And you're a Daryl Sutter hockey team, and you can't win a fucking third-period game once, ever? That's, when it starts looking like it is Daryl Sutter. It starts looking like, they don't believe in the system, man, or they don't believe in him and his tactics and his motivation. Because to not be able to win a game in the third period ever when you're losing, like, that's so bad, man. And that's what's killing them right now. Like, so much.
I still think they got to gel. I know that everybody. I get that these players that they had to replace, the ones that walked out the door, are really good and talented and everything. But I still think it takes even professional teams a little bit to gel together. You see it after the trade deadline. Sometimes you get these players that think they're supposed to be good, and immediately they're not.
Still, you have to find a way now. And you know what? Through all this, they find themselves 4 points out of the playoff spot. They're chasing the Jets. Unfortunately, it's another Canadian team, but the Jets aren't playing very well right now.
That's what I was gonna say. What happened to them? Because if we had talked last week or even 2 weeks ago, the Jets are looking okay. Something has happened in the last 14 days with that team that they're not.
Hellebuyck's not playing well. That's all there is to it. And that's that team goes and starts with Hellebuyck. And you know, if he's not playing well, then they start looking like the Calgary Flames. Because Markstrom was supposed to be like that. Markstrom was supposed to. That's another thing. When you don't have a third period comeback, and you've lost that many one-goal games, that's because your goalie is letting you down. I don't care what else is happening around you. If you have an elite goaltender or even a great goaltender, that goalie is going to find a way to make sure that you get at least even if the Flames had 5 wins out of those 21 games, they would be atop of the fucking division right now. Your goalie has to find a way to not lose games for you, but he also, when you pay him that much, has to find a way to win a few of those games for you. Like I said, I've also, they had an interview with Condry today. There's a lot of rumors that there's a rift between him and Sutter. He doesn't like the way that he communicates with the team. They asked him about it today. He was very nonchalant, saying, hey, it's an 82-game season. I've not gotten along with lots of coaches. We'll find a way to get past it. But it seemed like a guy that's saying to me, like, yeah, this guy's pissing me off. He's cutting my ice time, wondering why I'm not playing well, and we're not communicating. But he was professional. He said, we're just focused on the next game. We just need to get a win. And they do just need to get a win. They win right now, and the Winnipeg loses tonight. They play Winnipeg next week. And if they can get that, then before you know it, they're right back in it. But, they've shown you no reason to believe that they're going to go, even if they could go 7-3 right now in those last 10. They're going to need to go at least 8-2, though, I think, to make the playoffs.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know if they actually have to.
They got Nashville 1 point behind them too, and Nashville's got three games in hand. So.
What is Nashville doing here, man? My God, that game. I was looking at a lineup of what they had going on to start the season versus what they're running with now, and holy, that is not even the same squad, eh?
No. Well, Nashville, no matter what they do over the years, they always seem to be there. Like, I don't even know how they do it. They just always seem to be competitive. But if the Flames can't, make it over Nashville, that's extremely disappointing. I have faith still. I'm still watching, but it starts with tonight. They got to take care of business tonight. They're playing the Golden Knights, a team that they kicked their ass last week in Vegas. So they're going to be hungry for revenge. So better watch out tonight.
Yeah.
So well, that's it for hockey. Let's move along and talk a little bit about basketball here before we get on to the next thing. We talked about last week. We talked about the MVP race in basketball. It's pretty much a 3-man race. Yeah. Between Embiid, Giannis, and Jokic. I was very vocal last week about how I do not want Jokic to win again. I also, said some things about Embiid. I will say I watched Embiid this week, and until he got hurt last night, that wasn't done until 2-3 weeks or something, right? I was going to almost switch because Embiid really impressed me the last couple games I watched. I really looked at the stats as well. I got the stats to go over here with. When it comes down to it, we have two guys that are almost exactly the same across the board. It's ridiculous. Like, we have 35 minutes for Embiid, 32 for Giannis, 33 points a game for Embiid, and 31 for Giannis. 10 rebounds to 11.9 rebounds, 4 assists to 5.5 assists, and he's got a full more block Embiid does. But what really surprises me is just his shooting lately at mid-range is looked really impressive last week when I watched him.
Okay. All of that and more. This is what I said last week. This guy deserves the MVP. I hate saying it. He's a fucking Philly. I don't want to cheer this guy on. But on top of that, he's also somebody that's been able to put a cap on James Harden. James Harden has been quite quiet since he's got to Philadelphia.
I don't remember he played for him until I looked at his stats the other
day. That's just what I mean, right? Not only is he quiet in the media, he's quiet with the team. His stats aren't, his regular numbers. I mean, they're still really good. Don't get me wrong. He's still playing a very, very good game. But you would think that a guy that left the team, like he went, OKC to be Houston, be the player. He went from Houston to Brooklyn to chase this championship, and he was loud and vocal there and chased his way out of Brooklyn. He just has been tame, and I think that something has to be said about Embiid and what he's been able to do with that team and with him, and that's why, like I said, everything you've said and more is why I think this guy deserves it at this point.
Well, do you know that James Harden is leading the league in assists per game, too?
Oh, is he really?
11.9, I think, per game. He's leading the league. So
Wow.
that is sort of, and what did I say even last year when, we were talking about Harden going to 76ers in the first place? The first thing I thought of was Richard, and Richard be like, oh my God, that pick and roll is going to be ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly what they've done. And that's where the 11.9 assist comes from. Now, him being hurt now for 2-3 weeks is Giannis now going to win this just because he hasn't played the last? Because I feel like that's still for me a race that just comes down to the last 10 games either way between these three guys. Because Jokic, if you look at Jokic, the only impressive thing about Jokic is that his field goal percentage is 63%. They shoot 54%. So this guy has a 10% tighter. It's not like this guy's dunking all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So, that impressed me. But also, Giannis's free throw percentage, he shoots like 87% from the free throw. That's or not Giannis, Embiid does. So Embiid shooting that high as a big man from the free throw line, that's super impressive.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as far as Giannis going to win it, as far the recency bias, there's still lots of time in the season to put together a 3-week streak there for Embiid in order to kind of maybe put his name back in the envelope again.
But he's hurt though.
Yeah, but how many games? You said 3 weeks, right? So what are we looking at? Him missing probably 14 games? Oh, is that what they're saying?
There's only like 10 games left.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Well, yeah, you're right. Yeah.
15 games left for people.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be he's gonna come back right at the end. But as long as Jokic doesn't win it, I'll be happy. But Embiid, probably deserves it. But for me, I think it might just come down to who finishes first in the Eastern Conference.
In the East, yeah.
That might just decide it as well, right? So you never know, because the Eastern Conference, that finish between those top three teams, with your Celtics and those two others, that's going to be quite a race down to the final there for that. And that's going to pretty much dictate who the Raptors play. So.
Well, I mean, and it's not just the East. There's the race in the West too. I mean, West.
Well, we're talking about the West in a sec, because I'm just going to finish up with the Raptors real quick. But because the West is just absolutely mayhem over there. It's just ridiculous. But Raptors, they were on a nice run. Unfortunately, now 4-6 in the last 10. Lost a really tight game last night. But really shout out, because I got to watch these two Canadians for the first time really up close and paid attention to it. They played Indiana last night. And I don't know if you heard this Andrew Nembhard guy from Mississauga, Aurora, Ontario, right around that area. This guy was lights out. Like, he just watched Curry, growing up, because he had to step back, deep three down with a quick shot from here.
Who's this? What's his name again?
His name's Andrew Nembhard. He was drafted. He's Canadian. He was drafted. They drafted him in the first pick in the second round last year. Indiana did.
Okay.
Right out of Toronto, and he was from Mississauga, Aurora, they say. And this guy had both his parents there last night, and they kept showing them, and the kid just went off. He's only averaging 8 points a game this year, but he's just because he's a rookie, he's hardly got to play.
Yeah.
Well, he went off for 25 and 10 last night. First time playing in Toronto. First time in front of his parents. And the guy goes off for 25 and 10, and they beat the Raptors. So it was really cool. It looks like a bright future for Canadian basketball there. And they also have Benedict Mathurin as well, who is a big guy from Quebec, and he's averaging 16 points a game this year. So shout out Canadian basketball. I just watched two Canadians, kick our ass last night. Shout
out Indiana for having the Canadian team, eh? I like that.
Well, the Raptors schedule down the stretch, very intriguing. We play the Pistons, the Wizards. And then we play the 76ers, hopefully without a feed.
Yeah.
And then we play the Hornets twice and the Celtics twice.
Well, and that Hornets game's a wash, but Jesus. Do you think by then Jordan will have sold the team or what?
Hopefully, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll come back and play the last game before he sells it. Then we'll get screwed. He'll put up another 50 in the last game.
So you flaunted my Celtics name there, and I don't know if you saw the quote that came out of one of the Jays this week. Came out of Jaylen Brown. Did you happen to see that one? About the extension?
I know, what was it in depth?
So they asked him if he was going to be, wanting to sign an extension or whatever, because we got 1 year left after this with him, right? And he said, as far as an extension, I'm going to go where I'm treated right. Even Michael Jordan retired with the Wizards. So, it's a comment like that the writing is on the wall. I don't know what's happened. I know that there's been some beef with the fans and that shit, but What's crazy is I feel like the Jays in Boston have been nothing but embraced. There has been nothing but shit rumors that have floated out there about Jaylen Brown being on the trade block many times over in the past. Potentially was one for Kevin Durant. That was this season. I don't feel like any of those ever came to fruition, and that's because we don't have fucking Larry Bird running the team anymore. You know what I mean? Like we got a good guy in Brad Stevens who's going to build a team. He's not just going to trade draft picks away for everything. I'm nervous as to what it means for next year because we're, like I said, in the last year of his contract. I'm going to enjoy the ride here, but I hate the fact that he says something like that 2 weeks out from playoffs, man. Like that's just, it doesn't need to be said right now. You know?
Yeah, it's just selfish.
If I was him and somebody asked me that question and that's my response, instead of saying that response, I would just say, you know what, ask me in a few weeks. My focus right now is the playoffs. I'm not talking about 2 years from now, you know?
Well, especially when you got the racing going there. But yeah, I hope they do finish first somehow because, you know, the Raptors right now, they're sitting in the second to last play-in spot. Hoping, you know, the Raptors could finish anywhere between 7 and 8. So, you know, hopefully because the Raptors are going nowhere in the playoffs, so I would love to at least have a round against the Celtics.
Something to watch together.
But yeah, let's jump over to the West because the West is just crazy. Other than the top 3 teams, did we ever think the top 3 teams would be who the top 3 teams even are?
Mm-hmm.
You know, with obviously Denver knew was going to be there, but you know,
Memphis being able to stay on through the turmoil that's happened there recently has been pretty good for them.
Well, yeah, exactly. Memphis holding on somehow, which is surprising.
Sacramento, which I mean, this is when I say Sacramento is good, people would say, "What decade is it?"
Yeah, the Sacramento Queens.
Yeah. And then Phoenix, right? I mean, and then you got the Clippers, and then it rounds out with Golden State.
Well, but that's the thing. If you look at right now, from 4th to 12th in the West, they're separated by 3 wins.
Yeah.
Like, that is the craziest thing I've ever seen. Like, you want to talk about parity, because everyone always talks about
well, but is it parity, though? Before we get into parity, though, because, you know, we just talked about Embiid being gone for 3 weeks. That injury that George got, I don't know if we're going to see him back, man. Like, that might be season and playoffs. Like, if he does come back, it's in, like, a make-or-break game where, like, they need the firepower. Like, I'm looking at a headline right now. He's going to be reevaluated in 2 to 3 weeks. Like, that to me just doesn't... Like, and they're not going... I'm sorry, they're not going to win without George. It's just not going to happen.
The problem is with that is that the problem is that then everything goes on Kawhi again. And we all know that Kawhi can't handle the load. He just can't. He's a great player. We got the best out of him when we had him in Toronto, but he cannot handle the load. He may be able to do it for a playoff game or 2, but he cannot be the guy you're giving the ball to every single time. You're not giving the ball to Russell Westbrook every time.
That's what I was just going to say. You're not going down the stretch here with Russell Westbrook being your answer in the playoffs, unfortunately. I mean, they've got some other good players. Like, Norman Powell can be a guy, can certainly do some things for you, but I don't know, man.
Yeah, but it's you need those 2 guys. The team's built around those 2 guys, and it was only a matter of time before one of them got hurt. We already knew that.
Yeah.
Because that's just what both those guys have done their whole career. But you know what it really focuses on though is the 4 through 12. Like, it's just insane. You know, like Phoenix now, we all know wants to get Kevin Durant back if he can stay healthy for more than 2 minutes. That they're going to be successful. But you go through that 4 through that, like the Suns, Clippers, Warriors, Timberwolves, Thunder, Mavericks, and hey, the Lakers. Shout out the Lakers. I always give them a hard time, but without LeBron James, 6 and 4 in their last 10. Last night, Austin Reeves, I think, just had a lights out game. They are hanging on for dear life to that last play-in spot. And you know what? This is a team that if they do make that last play-in spot and LeBron does come back, who the fuck wants to play the Lakers in the play-ins? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like I'm saying the Lakers are going to go anywhere and win the whole thing or anything, but to be a play-in team playing against them the way they're playing, what's his name? The guy that went back. Russell. The guy that went
D'Angelo
back
Russell?
Yeah, D'Angelo Russell. He's been playing great.
Yeah.
So, you know,
the other thing too is all you're going to get back is a rested LeBron, right? I mean, for play-in time, a rested LeBron isn't going to do anybody any good.
Exactly. And the guy still having an MVP season. If he hadn't got hurt, he would have been right in the conversation as well for MVP because he was putting up MVP numbers.
Oh, Happy fell over. Got to fix Happy and Chubbs there. They fell over there.
But another intriguing team for the play-in as well is Zion's apparently ready to come back.
Oh, stop it. He's going to be back for 4 days.
I know how you feel about Zion, but he's apparently ready to come back. And the Pelicans are tied, or they're 1 game. They're the team that's in 12 that's 1 game behind the Lakers for the final play-in. But that every single play-in team's at 36 wins, except for the Wolves at 37. So the Wolves or the Pelicans are within one game, and if Zion comes back, we know that the Pelicans are sneaking in.
If Zion comes back, this guy's going to have zero cardio. He's going to be tired after 3 laps up the court, and he's probably going to blow a shoe or a knee or something in the game again. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm not wishing injury. Yeah, I'm not wishing injury on the guy. I really wanted him to be something big when he came into the league, and there have been certainly flashes.
Something big when he plays.
Yeah, there's flashes. When they made him a point guard there for a little while, that was pretty fun. But this is just, him coming back down the stretch and playing playoff ball potentially after not playing the whole season and whatever. I don't know. Is that going to happen? I don't know. We'll see.
Probably not, but he might be enough to get them into the playoffs. You never know at this point. But so we'll move along for basketball. We'll check in next week because by next week we're going to be within a week of both playoffs starting. It's going to be extremely exciting, and we're going to have so much to talk about on the shows. Until then, we just anticipate what's going to happen before those playoffs. Another sport we're anticipating what's going to happen is the NFL. We have a lot of anticipation going on with a couple of big name free agents that are both past their prime, but both can help football teams. With Aaron Rodgers and Ezekiel Elliott, it came down today. Ezekiel Elliott between 3 teams: the Eagles, the Bengals, and the Jets.
Yeah.
That was surprising. You want to go to the Eagles? I thought there's no way in hell he'd be sticking in the division. But is this enough? If they do get Rodgers and they get Ezekiel Elliott, is this enough to say that the Jets maybe are the favorite in the AFC East?
Okay, so they don't even need Aaron Rodgers. If they land Ezekiel Elliott, they become my favorite to second favorite in the East. They got a defense that's only getting stronger. They got nothing but firepower as far as wideouts go. I have no idea why they traded Elijah Moore outside of the fact that Elijah Moore wanted out, but you had a cheap wide receiver that you could hold on to contract for 2 more years.
Well, you got Mecole Hardman at least.
They did get Mecole Hardman, and he can run. The joke was you can run the jet sweep, right, when Aaron Rodgers gets there. But even with Mecole Hardman, you still got Corey Davis. You still got that tight end, Conklin as the tight end that's there. Alan Lazard. You got Alan Lazard. You've got.
And Garrett Wilson.
And you've also got a rookie running back that was making incredible waves before he got injured. That's right. So if you land a player like Ezekiel Elliott that can give you the pass protection that we know Zeke can do on 3rd down and spell a running back like Breece Hall throughout the season and be the helper in the back, maybe helping somebody like Zach Wilson as far as protection schemes and stuff, as well as the center, this is a team that can go far, I think. I know the AFC is stacked, but Aaron Rodgers is, of course, are they going to be shoot up the charts for favorite to win the Super Bowl in the AFC? Probably. But I still think right now, even without Aaron Rodgers, this team is a team that can bang. They can do some shit this year.
If you get Aaron Rodgers, are they the immediate favorite in that division?
You know what? With Leslie Frazier stepping away from Buffalo, I'm willing to say that, yeah. Without them having that defensive mind to lean on, that defense was huge last season. I know Josh Allen was massive last season too, but that defense was a big story for Buffalo. And I'm sorry, you don't just replace the head coach of your defense. That doesn't happen.
Well, and the fact that Nathaniel Hackett is going to be his offensive coordinator and he doesn't have to learn anything new at all is a big thing. You can't overlook as well.
That's right.
I will also say that I can make arguments for both the other teams that it's just as impactful, really, because we're talking about 3 teams, or the Jets haven't even came close. We're talking about between the Eagles and the Bengals, 2 teams that just made it to the Super Bowl in the last 2 years. And with the Bengals, we have a team that has terrible protection issues. You're going to get one of the best protecting running backs in the league.
Yep.
On top of a guy that will probably have a higher yards per carry than Joe Mixon, even though, and that's not saying much, but he's probably would. So I think that he would help the Bengals immediately as well. And then if you talk about the Eagles losing Miles Sanders, if you put him in that pass read option with Jalen Hurts, and you have a guy that could bang up the middle, and then you could let Jalen Hurts run with it, and you have a guy that could protect Jalen Hurts, looking past that, if you're like that he was a Cowboy, I think that going to the Eagles would be just amazing for them to get Ezekiel Elliott.
Well, didn't they already? They already replaced Miles Sanders, right? Who was the running back they just signed? Was it Devin Montgomery? Was that who went there?
No, he went somewhere else.
I can't remember who it was, but they did just replace.
Devin Montgomery went to Detroit.
Did they? Okay, they did. Rashad Penny, and
yeah, but yeah, we all know how fucking
He gets hurt. He does get hurt an awful lot. That's
This
tough.
guy's played like 3 games in the last 5 years. Or what?
Yeah. Well, that being said, I mean, we just saw. Now that being said, also when it came out what his actual injury was down there for Zeke, the fact that he was able to play on and do what he did last season just goes to show how strong the guy is. But he obviously,
we know how much Zeke adds to a team. We know Zeke's not going to go like Zeke used to. There's not going to be a lot of this anymore. But like when it comes down to it, the guy does so much for the team, and he does such good protection. And who knows if he does get really good rest. You always sometimes get that one last good year out of a running back. It could be it. But if he went to the Eagles, a team like the Eagles, I don't think he'd be asked to do much other than keep the defense honest. And if you break one here and there, it's probably good because they're afraid of a pass read option on Jalen Hurts as well. But going to the Jets, I feel like, if they get Aaron Rodgers, it's like, man, you're putting a lot of eggs in 2 baskets, the guys that are past their prime. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, and well, then the OBJ.
They have a lot more to lose. Like the Jets have a lot more to lose getting Ezekiel Elliott than the Eagles or the Bengals do. You know what I mean? Because, if they don't get Aaron Rodgers and you're just relying on whoever's playing quarterback there, and you have Ezekiel who's, coming down the end of his career, like, I just think the Bengals or the Eagles, it would be, a win-win for them. I just think it's a big risk for the Jets.
Well, as a name like that, you got Zeke that gets tied. Obviously, he's not going to get top dollar, but he's going to get some. He's going to get more than the vets minimum to go there. And then you get a name like OBJ that is starting to follow players like Alan Lazard on Twitter and stuff like that. And it's looking like maybe he might end up with New York if Aaron Rodgers goes there. Like, can you imagine how many players they're going to have to trade back to Green Bay in order to make this cap work somehow? To sign all of these players in order to make it work. It's just tremendous. I can understand why it's taken so long for these guys to come to an agreement at this point, but it tells me though that the Jets, I think that this is trending in the right direction for Rodgers going there, because why would the Jets be signing a veteran player like Zeke? Like, obviously Zeke has let it known that, hey, they reached out to me, they want me to sign there.
They signed Alan Lazard. They signed Alan Lazard also thinking that Rodgers is going to go there. But for me, what good does it do Green Bay to not get this trade done before the deadline or before the draft? Like, you clearly want picks in this draft for Rodgers. So, like, you're running out of time right now. And like, as far as I'm concerned, I heard the Jets are sitting on at least 2 picks in the second round that aren't theirs. On top of the first round picks. So, like, I'm like, you could get a huge haul if you're Green Bay. Like, it's just weird they're going to leave it right till the last minute.
So now I do think Corey Davis is one of the pieces going back to Green Bay, and the reason I think that is because LaFleur, his first year and only year with Tennessee was when Corey Davis was there, and then he went over to be the head coach of Green Bay. I think that helps them in getting a wide receiver position where they're obviously lacking over there in Green Bay. But, like, I don't even know, like, of course you want to get a first-round pick. Everybody has said they're not going to get the 2 first-round picks or the score that the Broncos had to give up in order to get Russell Wilson. They're not going to get that for him. So are they chasing draft picks at this point, Rick, or are they actually chasing roster players that fill out their positions? This is the team that drafts if they can get players under contract already, as what I'm saying is they don't have to deal. They don't do the dance of free agency that they don't do.
They're still going to get a huge part of it regardless.
I think that there will be trade picks that involved, and don't get me wrong. I just think there's going to be a good chunk of players that go back, and I think they're just going to build out their roster.
I agree with you, but you still, if you're going to get the picks, you're going to want them for this draft, regardless. Whoever, like, if you're going to want to give Jordan Love as many weapons as possible, like, yeah, so position players as well, or maybe they're just making them sweat. I don't know. Like, that's probably what they're doing. They did the same thing with Brett Favre, but. Green
Bay's got to realize that they're dealing with a New York team that deals with New York media. You're not going to make this team fucking sweat.
Well, yeah, exactly. You just drafted a quarterback in the first round last year, so when it comes to obviously, they're going to roll with him regardless. But I'm tired of talking about him. Talk about Lamar real quick. I know you got your hopes high there. That there's a possibility that he could go to the Titans and
well, isn't it funny how that happens, Rick? I bring it up, and then suddenly, if the rumors start coming out, it's the law of attraction, right? You just got to put it out to the universe.
You're manifesting it, Jim.
I'm manifesting. I just watched a video about the people making fun of others about this manifesting shit. But yes, I manifested Lamar potentially coming.
Manifesting shit? You know what they say about Santa? Wish in one hand, shit in the other.
But how pretty, there was a picture that, I don't know if it was DeAndre Hopkins or Lamar Jackson had put it up back in the offseason or whatever, but it was a picture of DeAndre, Lamar, and Derrick Henry, and the caption was, how many touchdowns would this offense get? And all I can say right now, Rick, is let's fucking find out, pal, because DeAndre Hopkins is going to go for a 5th-round pick, and if you're telling me you're not willing to sign DeAndre, who's not a declining wide receiver, this is not the Randy Moss that we signed years ago, the Julio Jones that we traded for, anything like that. We're going to still get a player that is in his prime, that does not win with speed, but wins with push-offs and gets away with it pretty damn well. But if you can do that, and you can go and chase a quarterback like Lamar Jackson and still somehow keep Derrick Henry on contract, boy, you got an offense that can chug in the AFC South, pal. And that's all you need to make the dance, right? If you can control the clock in the AFC, which is a conference that is run by quarterbacks, if you can keep them on the sidelines, then, pal, we got something cooking. Our defense is not the problem in Tennessee. Pass defense has been an issue, but the defense as a whole has not been the issue. So if we can get the defense going and we can keep the quarterback on the sidelines.
Players create good defenses. We know that.
That's right. That's right. Again, I'm just spouting off at my hip because you and I both know that the 99% chance is that whoever offers Lamar Jackson a contract, that Baltimore is going to sign with him. Now, here's the thing, though. Like, you got this guy randomly, you probably read about it today, that's going out there, calling up GMs and trying to make deals on behalf of Lamar Jackson, and the NFL had to put out. Did you read about this? No. So some guy who's not an agent has called multiple GMs in order to tell them that he does not want guaranteed money and to try and spark negotiations between the GM and between Lamar. The NFLPA got involved and had to put out a memo today that said that this guy's not an agent. You cannot negotiate with him, whoever this guy is. And we know his name now. His name's Ken Francis. But you can't negotiate with any deal you make with him can be null and void at all. And then Lamar came out and said, retweeted and said that guy ain't, talking on my behalf or whatever it may be. But why don't you come out and say where you want to be, okay? Because if you don't want to be in Baltimore and Baltimore matches that deal, are you going to go back with your tail between your legs for the next 5 to 8 years, whatever the deal is? Or are you going to stand up straight with your back?
Because you keep hearing these things. It's like, can you even go back at this point? Like, it's just like, even if they do come to a deal, like.
This is just it. The team and the player.
Your MVP. This guy won an MVP. He's like 35 and 15 as a starter or something. Like,
yeah.
The guy wins football games and he's not getting paid. And like we talked about it last week. Yes, he does have injuries, but when it comes down to when he's on the field, he does win. And you're willing to put a exclusive franchise or non-exclusive franchise tag on him, so that makes him feel even more excluded, non-exclusive.
That's right.
It's just, to me, it's just like you're saying, well, the Deshaun Watson deal fucked it all up. Well, too bad. Figure it out. That's what happens.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Flacco fucked everybody's deals up when he got the most money in the league fucking 10 years ago.
Yeah.
It happens.
That's right.
You have guys that get paid more than they should get paid, and in light of that, you have other guys that get paid more than they should get paid. That's the way it goes.
Yeah.
When Patrick Mahomes got a $500 million contract, he fucked everything for everybody. So when it comes down to it, it's like, you figure it out. Do you think you have a better chance to win with anybody else other than him right now? No. Give the guy his fucking money.
And if we're doing the argument with like Deshaun Watson here, like Deshaun, we know what Lamar has provided to us recently, okay? We saw a guy that hadn't played in a year that got a contract and then looked like absolute shit on the field. I'm sorry, he did not.
He played as well as he did 3 years ago, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. And Lamar has looked the same the whole way through. Now, is it Lamar sending a sign to the world that he doesn't want to be in Baltimore if he goes and signs somewhere else? Or is it him that's just pushing the button to Baltimore and saying, this is all I wanted, right? This is all I wanted from you guys was this deal. Now match this deal. But again, how do you go back? How do you go back if somebody else has already tried to sign you, right? Like, I think this has happened in the NHL a couple of times where a player's been signed to a match deal and then they've come back and it's like, why? I don't want to be here. Like, there was a reason I signed that contract, was to get out from underneath you guys. I don't want to be here anymore. Either work out a trade or let me go. Like, I don't want to be here anymore.
Yeah, exactly. If you value my services that much, then we shouldn't even be in this position.
That's right.
So if it comes down to the point where another team had to offer me the money I want for you guys to give me the money that I've asked for, then what have we really done here?
Yeah.
Like, you're just forcing the hand, and now they're being like, no, too bad, we're going to give you the money, even though you've been asking for a year and a half and got hurt. Like, it's just like, tired of hearing about it.
And aside from maybe like there was like one leak, I think, or one thing that was said by Harbaugh that like the media picked up on. Overall, this entire thing has been absolutely doors shut We got not a fucking idea what's coming out of Lamar's camp, and there's nothing coming out of Baltimore's camp either. So all we're left to do is kind of sit here and speculate through this whole thing. But this most recent,
when training camp starts.
yeah, this most recent little dance here with this guy who's not a real agent that's doing all this shit.
Huntley, though, now. Apparently his name's Snoop now. I keep saying that.
Oh, Snoop Huntley. Well, but with the agent that's not an agent, and his mom who's apparently negotiating contracts for him, I think, and Ari Miroff, whatever you say his name, he said it too. I totally agree. I think it's time that Lamar, I know he has a YouTube scheduled to come out at some point here with a little episode, but he needs to come out and publicly say what the fuck is going on. You are not currently under contract with this team. You have not signed your franchise tag. This is no different than when I think a player gets cut, like when Luan left the Titans and was able to kind of air some grievances, or when Aaron Rodgers on his way out the door and he's airing grievances, right? These players wait until they're not on the team anymore to say anything. Guess what, pal? You're not signed. Start airing your grievances and push their buttons. That's right. Yeah.
So, yeah, like, you might want to, start figuring things out a little bit and let people know, because, I just can't believe that Baltimore hasn't given him the money yet. I really can't believe it.
I just, what they did to us.
They've offered him a lot of money. I know they've offered it, just wasn't enough guaranteed that he wants. And I get you want guaranteed when, you're injury prone, but.
After the Ravens stole McNair from us years ago, I would just love to steal Jackson from them. We did the same thing. Remember, I don't know if you remember or not. We locked out Steve McNair, right? He wasn't even allowed to come and lift a single weight. And then
the only person that locked him out.
Yeah. Yeah. And then they Jesus. And then they sent him on his merry way to Baltimore. And that would be nice if we could do the same thing.
I loved him in Baltimore.
Yeah, he had a good year. Derek Mason, Samari Roll. Yeah. Oh, what?
I do want to give a quick shout out. One of my Raiders just read some crappy news today, but I know Foster Moreau, he was supposed to go to New Orleans to pair up with Derek Carr there, and failed his physical because he found out he had cancer when he did his physical. So that was really upsetting. I always loved Foster Moreau. I thought he played really well behind Darren Waller. Always made good blocks in the few games where he did play in place of Darren Waller. He always did a really good job. So I just wanted to shout out him. I was really excited to hear that. Hopefully he gets to do that.
Yeah.
Well, moving along from football, unless you got something else.
No.
No? I do want to recap the UFC from last weekend. It was a big one. We had a couple really big fights. We'll go with the main event right away. We had our Usman Edwards 3 with rematch from their title fight that they had recently. When, for those who didn't see it, Usman was dominating the fight. He did lose one round, but late in the last minute of the fight, he got head kicked into oblivion. And apparently he didn't recover from that head kick because he didn't look very good in the rematch. I don't know if you've seen it, but Edwards, pretty much controlled the whole fight.
And how were your feelings going into that one again? Remind me who you thought was going to win that one.
I thought that Usman would be able to pull it off. I really did think that his experience would. But you know what? Edwards looked really good. But what I did see was this as well. We all know the talk about how Herb Dean's losing it. He's not doing a very good job refereeing fights. This is what I've seen when they've gone over the video. 3 glove grabs by Leon Edwards, 5 low blows by Leon Edwards. Only two were called by the referee. 2 eye pokes were not called by Leon Edwards, and 2 times grabbing the fence. Only one of them was called. So he committed, 3, 8. 10, 12 fouls in that fight, and it was only deducted 1 point. So you could argue that Leon Edwards cheated a lot in that fight, and getting kicked in the nuts 5 times is going to slow anybody down. And one of the times he grabbed the fence, Usman had a complete body lock on him and was about to throw him to the ground and get control, and he grabbed the fence. So I'm not a believer in Edwards yet. I really am not. He did beat Usman, but Usman looked slow. He did not look crisp. His takedowns looked terrible. He looked like he hit a wall eventually, and that's what happens when you're 35 in MMA.
Yeah, for most people, yeah.
Yeah. So what happens to a guy that did not get slowed down was Justin Gaethje. Justin Gaethje, coming off a loss for the title, hadn't fought since, fighting an up-and-comer Rafael Fiziev. Fiziev, this guy that hardly goes out in the first round, knocking everybody out. Justin Gaethje never gets stunned. This guy wobbled Justin Gaethje 2 times. Justin Gaethje lost the first round convincingly, and then came back like a champ and whooped this guy's ass. 2 rounds in a row. I don't know if you see it one highlight, but there's one where he comes up for an uppercut, and you could see the snot hanging from his nose and just go like in the air. It was a magic loogie. Justin Gaethje put himself right back into title contention as well. So that was an awesome fight. But big intriguing fight coming up. Obviously, we do have Pereira and Adesanya too. I think Adesanya is going to lose again because I think he's in the same boat as Usman. But we have Masvidal and Burns, which is a very intriguing fight because technically the winner of that fight should get the next title shot against Edwards. But they've already announced that Colby Covington, a guy that hasn't fought in a year, is going to get the next title shot. So there's a ton of commotion going on.
And I don't know if it's because I'm kind of outside of this. But Masvidal and Colby Covington, they got beef, right?
Well, they fought. That's the last fight that happened.
So
and Covington whooped his ass, and then Masvidal jumped him in a bar and broke a bone in his face.
Yeah. So
like front turns.
Now Masvidal said in this, they talked about that. What allegedly happened. That was this word he liked to use on the Rogan podcast. Yeah, it was allegedly.
I allegedly slapped my wife on New Year's Eve.
That's right. Yeah. But he mentioned that the next time he fights him, like he's going to get in the ring and he's going to kill him legally in the ring, right? He's going to kill him in the match, right? So he's openly said that to Rogan. This is clearly after the fight. Now, I'm under the impression that Masvidal's just done. Like, he's retired, is he not?
No, that's the thing I'm telling you right now is that he's fighting Gilbert Burns next weekend.
Okay.
So he's back, and Gilbert Burns went to the title, lost. Masvidal lost. These are guys that all lost, to Usman, right? So now Masvidal and Burns are fighting. Well, Colby Covington was ringside this past weekend. And Colby Covington hasn't fought since he got jumped by Masvidal in the club after he beat his ass. So Colby Covington's been stagnant for over a year now. And so Leon Edwards has come out and said, I don't care if Dana White says Covington's fighting me next. I'm not fighting him. He doesn't deserve it. He's been dormant. The winner of Masvidal and Burns, it should be who the winner should be. Well, Masvidal came out today and said that if I beat or when I beat Gilbert Burns, the plan is for me to fight Leon Edwards. I have inside information. Well, Dana White's already said Colby Covington's getting the next shot, so it's all up in the air who's going to get the next shot. But I'm telling you, Gilbert Burns, when Gilbert Burns annihilates Jorge Masvidal, he's going to beat the living piss out of Masvidal. Like, it is going to be embarrassing.
You think so, huh?
His past. Like, he got his ass beat by Colby Covington. Gilbert Burns is a monster. He's the only guy that went toe-to-toe with Hamza in command. Like, that fight was a banger, and those guys were unreal. Gilbert Burns, he's a monster. He's going to beat the shit out of Masvidal, and then he's going to go on and beat the shit out of Leon Edwards. So that's what I think is going to happen. But I love the drama. I would love to see Covington and whoever wins that fight go at it, but Burns and Covington go at it. But either way, we got a lot of excitement going on in the welterweight division. But you know what? None of these guys would have a trick shot against GSP. That's all that matters.
Is that's your sign off right there? You said that, flip the pen, and you're.
I got a quick little sign up as well. We have rumblings that Brock Lesnar's contract is coming to an end at WrestleMania in a week. John Jones has already called him out on Facebook or on Twitter.
Why is that going to happen?
Called him out by saying this is the fight I always wanted. You know it would be the biggest fight in UFC history. Brock Lesnar probably get his ass beat.
Yeah.
But he wouldn't have a chance. Well, I don't know because it's John Jones, but like you said, he'd probably do better than Cyril Gahn did. But who wouldn't want to see John Jones and Brock Lesnar? But I want to see it. But Dana White apparently is launching a boxing promotion within the next 24 months. He said he can't. He's not saying he can fix boxing, but he's going to try because Power Slap didn't work out. So he's moving on to his next endeavor, which apparently is starting a boxing promotion.
So hold on. You've got Jake Paul and Logan Paul out there talking about how they're pumping the sport of boxing and bringing it back, and that Dana White doesn't pay his guys well enough. And then you got Dana White coming out and saying that he's going to fix boxing, probably not paying his guys enough again. Oh my God, what kind of entertainment is this going to bring?
Obviously, is create a league, is it like the UFC?
Yeah.
Boxing, and you know what? For fans, great. That's what we want to see because that's the problem with boxing is that we don't have anybody calling the shots in boxing, and that's why we don't get the fights we ever really want to see unless it's 10 years too late.
Well, who wants to go and pay $55 to HBO for a boxing match? That's what you mean? Like,
no, especially when you don't even know who the fucking guys are fighting.
Yeah.
So but anytime Dana White's involved, it's exciting. So. Love to see it. That's my sign up for today. We covered lots, and we'll get back at it next week.
As always, Rick, an absolute pleasure covering all the sports that we can with you, my man. You keep up your stuff, keep stacking bricks, and I'll see you next week, all right?